Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the New Hampshire Business Show. My name is Chris Pashana, and today I'm here with Daniel and Katey Lamontagne from New View Painting. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Chris. Good.
Hi.
Good. So let's get started with my typical question. And tell me a little bit about yourselves in the business and where it all started and what led you here.
All right. My name's Dan. I've been painting for now over 20 years. Started painting down in Lexington and Fitchburg, Massachusetts, with a guy that did remodeling, and so I was able to learn from framing and flooring and tile and also painting. And he had a larger painting crew that worked on exteriors as well. So most of them were estate homes and old Victorians and stuff. So horsehair plaster and calcium ceilings and hard prep, but worth the finishes to learn that way. So then started painting new construction with a company, and we did tons of houses in Nashua and Amherst and traveled all around and learned more spray techniques, more than just the brush and roller. So we know how to do production painting and commercial work as well. So a good mixed bag of experience before we went out on our own.
Yeah.
And now we've been doing this. I've been doing this under my name for 10 years. And now we have an LLC that we just created a couple years ago. So
Okay. So you switched from sole prop to LLC?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
So made more marketing materials and stuff, and
Yeah.
the hats, and got the truck with the logo, and
Yeah.
it's
We took it to the next step.
Yeah, living the dream, yeah.
yeah.
Well, once we saw that it was like a real, this was a good business, it was an
Yeah.
actual business. It was like, okay, well, let's go to the next step then.
Yeah.
Invest the money and go for it.
Okay, cool. So you worked for someone else. So what was the step or kind of the point when you were like, I just want to do this for myself instead, and kind of what led there?
The new construction company that I was working with, it started to slow down as new construction started to go away about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it started getting a little tighter. So he laid me off, and there was developments that we had done, and I had made a lot of connections of the people that had bought the houses. So more the finished user, the finished customer of the house, and I was able to use those contacts to just kind of go out on my own. So some of them are the 55 plus development places that are local here and in Nashua, and great customers. A lot of them are I feel like they're like my grandma sometimes, and you want to take care of them, So it's been real rewarding, I guess, too. So to have those kinds of customers, not only the monies and the jobs, but the feeling that you're doing something right, helping people out that maybe would like to do it themselves or used to do it themselves, but now they ain't gonna get up on that ladder. So
They could 10 years ago, and now they've just kind of been handing it over to you to do.
yeah.
There's some people, they'll just call him for, Danny, I need my light bulb changed. And he's like, okay, yep, I'll be right over. Change a light bulb for free, just because you don't want that person up on a ladder because they're 80 and, or something.
Yeah.
Shovel their back porch because you know that this guy's going to have a heart attack if he...
Yeah, once you know the people and you know
for
that their ailments, maybe if they've got a bad hip or a bad back.
There was a storm. You went out in a bad snowstorm to clear out somebody's generator because she called you, Danny, I'm so scared. I'm so afraid that, for a generator. So he did that. And,
It's good.
So more than just paintings, being dependent upon for maintenance as well.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned shoveling, so this was a fun one. Painting. I'm going to assume you do interior and exterior.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to say, trying to rely on exterior painting in New Hampshire is probably like a partial gig.
Yeah, I know. I know. There's some outfits that they really hurt themselves by taking on too many exteriors, thinking, oh, we've got this long season, and the season ends up being rainy, or the snow comes earlier, or so.
Last year we didn't get to everybody that we wanted to.
Yeah.
We got
was
stuck
tough
because we got held back by
It rained a lot, so
For exterior stuff.
every 3 days it seemed to have a good amount of rain, so wait for things to dry out a little bit more too. So
Yeah. So that's a good question. Interior versus exterior painting. So some of the differences, things people might not even realize about it.
The products are all completely different, that's for sure. So I know some people have thought, oh, I'll get away by putting this interior paint on an exterior because I have some white or whatever, but there's a fungicide and mildicide that's in exterior paints that are made so that you can put it outside and it can get wet, so sometimes people don't realize that, but the interior work is rewarding because that's where somebody enjoys their house for themselves.
Yeah.
And really, sometimes the exterior work is really for the neighbors. It's because, it's the feeling of, oh, I really should take care of that, shouldn't I? These people don't want to look at this anymore.
Or you get a lot of people going for home sale.
That too, obviously. Then it's time to spruce it up.
You just had somebody call, the appraiser's coming. I need this done before the appraiser comes. And for home sale.
Yeah,
An
obviously,
agent.
there's a lot more equipment that comes on for the exteriors between the ladders and the picks and place to get to higher places or dormers and stuff. So it takes a little more skill maybe with the ladder.
Yeah.
But it's still the same work as far as the painting and the brushing and so.
Yeah. So how often should someone be painting the exterior of their homes?
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on the kinds of products that you're using, but you can expect your decks every 2 seasons. You should probably get out there and clean it and get some product on there around in New England. Yeah, more than likely. And then as far as the house goes, if it was done properly, probably should get 10 to 15 years. But a lot of times we come to them and people did not get, near even 5 years, wasn't proper prep. Or the substrate wasn't right, so sometimes people will rush that prep work in order to get the finish on there, and it looks great, but it's not going to last as long.
Power washing, if they power wash and then paint too soon.
Yeah, that would make a finish fail more than likely. So I'm sure you've driven around and seen plenty of places that have like big sections of peeling paint. More than likely, that guy didn't quite do all the steps that he needed to in the system. So
yeah. Okay, cool. Because that's actually really funny. Because I like asking that question because every industry seems to have their, you should do it this often, but they don't type deal.
Yeah, I mean, and decks people, for New England it's tough, especially too. People will shovel decks too, so they're taking damage or they're taking wear. And you can take the finish off on some things. So, and obviously different products hold up better than others too. So sometimes paying for the better product is going to get you a lot more durability than going the cheaper route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, when we're talking, I like talking about exterior homes. So, like, do you guys work with all color homes? Because I've seen some homes that are just very
Crazy
unusual
purple.
colors and stuff.
Yeah, I would probably try to steer away from somebody that wanted to go really outside the norm. But most of the ones that I've done that were a weird color, it was a weird color to begin with, and we were taking it back to something that maybe someone could deal with. So,
natural.
Yeah, I did one before a big tenement building in Fitchburg before, and it was purple. And the first day that we started working on it and scraping on it, the neighbors come outside and started clapping. They were so ready to be done with that house.
That's too funny. Yeah, because there was a place in Goffstown that it used to be like purple or pinkish type color.
Yeah.
And it was always the weirdest place to drive by and be like, what is with this house?
Yeah. Well, I had one set of customers and they had an older farmhouse and they really enjoyed the history of the home or whatever. And when they left
1770s.
And they sold it, the people came in and they painted it pink, and it was not a pretty scene. So little heartbreaking for them, but I think someone else bought it and they actually brought it back to like a darker color now.
To another historic color, at least. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's come full circle.
They were so mad.
Oh, that's too funny. So, I guess let's jump into the interior of the homes, because I know that's probably an area that people may never paint.
A lot of times we find that a room may have changed colors a few times, and the ceilings probably were not addressed, because that's a harder surface to paint, maybe to get the paint up to the ceiling, is a little harder. But people will refinish bathrooms, in kitchens more often than they will other spaces sometimes, so we find a myriad of conditions. Some of them are in great condition, some of them not so much, so just take it as it comes,
Yeah. Yeah.
A good example is, someone that lives in their house and has 2 children and dogs and everything like that. You may find more condition issues than someone who's a retiree, who, doesn't really touch the walls too much,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And do you have like recommendations for maybe not types of paint for the inside of a home? Should you go like kind of glossy or just what makes it a little easier?
The trim and the doors, we normally are suggesting semi-gloss finish. Reason being, it's more washable, and that's obviously places that are going to be taking a little more beat from vacuums, maybe hands around doorknobs and everything. And then the walls, it's sometimes it's more of a choice for customers, really. You can go with a much more washable finish, like an eggshell, or if you don't like it, some people don't like the finish of an eggshell because it's too shiny in their mind. So you can have a matte or a flat, and it's going to be truer to the color as well. So if you picked a chip and you said, I really like this color, flat or matte may be better because it's going to be a true depiction of that. Whereas sometimes when you paint with a sheen paint on walls, when you look at one wall, it'll look much different from another wall that's in the same room. So, and that's the reason, because of the sheen. So if there's natural light that's being casted through a window, then it may make a gray look almost white, and the gray on the other window where the window is can be very dark, So, yeah, it takes a while to pick colors. That's probably the hardest thing, maybe, And we consult people, but we don't pick them, We let people decide where they think they want to take their.
And if they need help, Godek's a good one to send people to. He recommends, I don't know what colors I want to pick. Okay, well, go down to Godek. They'll sit down, they'll talk to you, and they'll help you pick a color.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was actually gonna ask. I'm like, do you help them with the process? Like, maybe you shouldn't pick that color.
I have at times told people I don't know about this color. Maybe from experience though too, where I put it up before and it really didn't end up being exactly what they wanted. Normally, if it's a loud and proud color, a lot of times people have picked a designer. If it's something that's very deep in color, or they have an idea, and it probably goes with curtains and rugs, and there's a lot of finishes that can go besides the paint that make a color, what it really looks like in the end. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, we don't steer away from color. I like color, so it's tough for me when people are asking me, well, what do you think? I tend to take something that has a lot more color to it.
Yeah.
But I've painted for so long, and I did the new construction too, so we've done a lot of linen whites and Navajo whites, and so when I see a color, I like it,
Yeah.
And then people are starting to now do tinted ceiling paint and colored trim and stuff, so you get that sometimes.
Yep, we've done a few jobs like that, but that's obviously the next step too. So you really got to know what your color palette is and what you're trying to do. So picking fabrics and picking curtains, and it takes a little more than just picking the color.
Yeah, because I could imagine that getting tricky if you were trying to, I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming too. When I hand the wheel to people, there's thousands of colors in there. So as soon as they start looking through, they're getting overwhelmed maybe sometimes. So going to a place like Godek is a design phase. It's a smart thing to do. They'll go through not only that, but the sheens as well. So you can really dial in what you're looking for.
And they'll do that consultation for free.
Oh yeah.
That's a service that they offer anybody to do.
Yeah.
So they.
Yeah, I always suggest to people, if they're really having a tough time between 2 or 3 colors, to get samples and put them around in the room, and you can kind of delete a couple of those usually pretty easily that you don't want.
And Godek does the bigger sheets too, which is easier than the
yeah.
little
Sometimes
chips,
you can get a sheet of paper, an 8.5 by 11 sheet, rather than getting the sample as well. So that is sometimes bigger than those swatches that you see in the fan decks.
All right, cool.
So those help.
That's good. You might not know, this is maybe not a question, but are there any weird painting styles coming up recently? I don't know if you guys would know any of that.
I've been looking at some things. I've seen some people doing some more HD graphics, and they've been doing them on floors and on walls and stuff too. So adding poster, what would seem like a poster, but making the whole wall that way,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
it makes it look like you're going down a walk, in the woods, like you're just walking straight into the woods. Or
that's really cool.
On the ground, they've done it on the floor, like in a bathroom, and it looks like you have to jump from a lily pad to a lily pad in the water, and if you step off of that lily pad, it makes you look like you're about to fall into some water.
We used to do a lot of faux painting which is faux finishes, making it look like something that truly it isn't, though. So we've done marbleizing and made things look like granite or sueding and leathers. Some people don't ask for that as much anymore.
Yeah.
But
You
designers
haven't
do.
done a faux in a while.
Yeah, designers do, though. They still look at some of those finishes and some of those walls, and that's what they know what would look great in a certain room.
That's really cool. You guys work a lot with like accent walls.
People have been doing more of them, and I've seen a big comeback in wallpaper now too. Some high-end wallpapers that are just being put on one wall. It's just like a bold statement, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny to see some styles that have completely phased out as they start to come back again, you know.
Yeah.
So
Milford Paint and Wallpaper, they do a lot of that too. She's told me that Robin over there, she said, people doing the one wall.
yeah, and I've seen a lot more of the natural
Spend
ones.
extra money and get the nicer wallpaper and put it up there.
Yeah, I've seen more of the natural ones too, where they've been putting up what looks like wood scenes and trees and stuff like that on the wallpaper.
Those are
So
cool.
it looks really cool. Yeah, once you put it up, like
You do something cool for kids. You can make like hills in their room. He did it for our kids in our room.
Yeah. Done it a few times now for
explain how
it's like
you
a
do it.
mural, and then people can put up their own stickums and whatnot
You do
of
like
characters.
the decals.
That's pretty
Tell
cool.
people go online and pick out some decals,
Yeah.
and you can do that. But
Those are fun jobs because obviously the kids get really excited.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know,
It's a lot of
when you
fun.
finish it up, they're very excited to start.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up an interesting point because it pushes it into the creative realm a little bit.
Yeah.
Where instead of just painting a wall, you can have a little bit of fun with it.
Oh, for sure.
So it must be kind of nice to see as a painter.
Oh yeah. Oh, even if it's just painting the walls, like we just did one today, and she was very smitten with the finishes and how they were looking and everything. It's fun. It's very rewarding to do it, you know, and have people feel more at home in their own home.
Yeah.
You know.
you're always amazed at how fast you've done something that they've, it took them a week, or 3 weekends to paint one room or to do something, and then they come back the end of their work day and you're finishing up and it's like you've done 2 rooms or you've done 6 ceilings in a day or something. Like they're like, how did you do 6? I was standing up there. We had that lady call last summer who was like, I started on my ceiling and I couldn't finish it. There's no way. It just took me too long and my neck hurts. And don't worry, Dan will bring his sprayer and take care of you.
That is so funny because I own some rental property down in North Carolina, and one of our units, we literally I remember we spent one weekend, we painted most of the bottom floor, and then we finished the hallway leading upstairs, and then we stopped and we didn't do the upstairs, and me and the person who was renting from me at the time left to go to Afghanistan.
Oh jeez.
So we come back 9 months later, and we're like, we had said, we'll take a little bit off your rent, just finish painting, and they're like, oh, that's fine. So 9 months later, nothing had been touched, and I was like, oh, come on, guys, you're killing me.
Could have done it one of those days, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny.
There's a lot of people who say that they put it off. Like they want to do it. It's something that they've wanted to do. They know they need to. Like my parents' house, gosh, they moved in 7 years ago and they haven't painted because they can't pick a color. And I'm married to a painter, and my mom's like, well, I can't have Dan do anything because I can't pick a color. It's like, it's been 7 years already. Pick a color. But you'll find people like that. Or they've left it because that's what it looked like when they moved in, and they bought the place with the curtains that matched, the drapes that matched, and they don't want to take those drapes down because they know they'll have to replace that and that costs money. So they leave
It's
it the way that it
understandable.
is.
Life happens. I know we've done a bunch that are empty nesters, and that's the case. That only one room got painted, and then the rest of it got. Oh, we were gonna do that, but life happens, and you start moving, and
But then you get the people who never painted or never really did much that they wanted to, and then they have to sell. And they go through, they have you come in and you do the whole house for them for a home sale. And it's like, I never got to live in that. It looks really nice.
I feel bad sometimes
And I feel
about that
bad for
because
those
I
people.
know they're trying to give a gift to somebody when they're leaving it for somebody else, but it'd be nice if they could have had it nicest, while they
Wow, if I
lived
knew
there.
it could have looked like this, I would have had you come 2 years ago. It's like, well, then just do it now.
Yeah,
if there's anybody out here listening, just do it now.
Yeah,
so
because my thing is, I'm like, it's just paint. If you don't like it that badly, just change it.
Yeah.
Wait a few days, change it.
Yeah.
And that's the other
weeks,
thing. You'll get people that maybe didn't like it the first day, and you're like, just give it a couple days. Give it 2 or 3 days. See if you really don't like it at the end of the weekend. and it'll come back on Monday.
We've had a few people that are that way, but then it's hard. Pastels have been a big thing lately that people have been trying to get, but it's hard because there's so many types of pastels that turn into gray and slate and blue, and so they're trying to dial it in. So a lot of times we'll only get what we need to do the first coat. Put these up and see, is this really where we want to be? So sometimes it ends up getting changed, but a lot of times I tell people whatever their first impression was, a lot of times that's the best one, because we'll go to something else and then we're actually getting further away from the idea they originally had. You know, so a lot of times your gut feeling towards a color is the best one.
If you're like me and every other business owner out there, you want more business coming in, but you want to do it in a way that's efficient and cost effective. If that's kind of sounding like you, then you need to head over to nhbusinessshow.com/goldstar to check out the Gold Star referral clubs. Referrals are some of the best and least expensive ways of making business out there. So if this sounds like you, check out the Gold Star referral program. We meet once a week. Reach out. I'll tell you the times. I'm looking currently for realtors, insurance agents, you name it. I probably have a spot for you somewhere. Check it out. nhbusinessshow.com/goldstar. Let's get you some referrals for your business. You had mentioned earlier you went from sole prop to LLC.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the spot where a lot of hiccups start happening in businesses.
Yeah.
So how was that for you guys?
It was a little more for the setup. I mean, I already had insurances in place, so it was just really changing names for some things, I guess it's given us what I feel like as a bigger outlet for being on social media and having the website. It gives you a little more credibility than just a guy in a truck, which that seems to be, especially for painting, seems to be a lot of the market, obviously, because it's a low overhead to start and everything. But we've tried to do it the right way. We picked up another vehicle. It's an orange truck. Most people, once they see it the first time, they know it's me for the rest of their life. Oh, there he is. That's Dad. We get some signage on that and everything. So, I mean, it's not much changed that way. Some of the taxes obviously and everything, but yeah.
Did you guys already have a good base as far as like accounting and some of that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, my wife does most of that, so I'm able to keep my hands on the wheels as far as just doing the quotes and doing the work and everything. So that's been a lot of help, especially for the last 2 years where we have the LLC. So I'm able to hand a lot of things off to her, and maybe picking up products and making other phone calls for me.
Because he'd be on top of a ladder answering phone calls all the time, and or whatever, and you can't get back to people, or it can be disrespectful maybe if you feel like you haven't heard back from the contractor that you called right away. But he's busy, and he can, or when he gets home, he wants to be home with the kids. He wants to spend time with us, especially in the summers. You're never around.
I've probably answered more phone calls on the top of houses, though, than I should have. So.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, just the question was asked that was when you switched from sole prop to LLC, like, were there any big stresses or strains that kind of came from the process or anything like that kind of going legitimate? Because it kind of sounds like you guys had a good base in place anyway. So it wasn't really much of a switch.
No, I can see how it would be harder for somebody if they were really starting at the bottom to jump right out there and try to make a big business and try to go bold.
You studied business in school, and then I've gone back to school to take some more business classes, just to be prepared for being able to grow in the future. And what do we do? And I wanted to take a marketing class so I could help. With marketing, and that's a lot of what I do for you now. And I think a lot of it's from what I learned in going to the college. And you have a very good business mind. You have a good sense of what you want. If there's something, I'll write something up and be like, nope, erase.
I don't
say this.
I don't have much in the way of the social marketing, though. I'm not much of a Facebook poster or, so.
But you're also not one of those contractors who's like posting all day long pictures of yourself, whatever. There's a lot of guys who, or they're on Facebook and they're not working. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that. There are some people out there who say that they're working, but they're really sitting on Facebook all day.
That's too funny. So yeah, I kind of like the.
He's a worker.
That's good. I like that. It's kind of good to see the foundation that was in place first, because I know some businesses, they jump in, kind of get overwhelmed really, really quick with how much is involved running a business. Mm-hmm. But you have enough experience that it wasn't much of an issue at all.
No, no. And I if I had hiccups, it was, obviously when I was younger, you know, and you work through them and you realize, okay, maybe you got to do things a little differently that way or this way. But I'll say this, working alone on a lot of jobs, there's a lot of things that I thought maybe needed 2 men or 3 men or 4 men, and I've done it alone, you know, or I've done it with the help of my wife. We have a
Sorry.
we have a few employees, so that takes the burden off too. But I've learned that 1 man can do a lot actually too.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is fun. So people, when they go out to look for a painter or a contractor to do this type of work for them, like, what should they be looking for? Because there are some notoriously bad contractors out there that get you in a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah, and they make a bad name for all the rest of us too that
Yeah.
are trying to do the right thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I've had customers that are leery about different things, and it's because yes, they got burned by somebody. So obviously, don't pay up front. You know, when
No,
guy
no.
tells you he needs all this money in
You
order.
rarely take a deposit, and that's only right when the job is starting, just to go and, you know, if you needed to buy a lot of materials.
Or if
but
someone's asking for
you're
a
not
deposit,
taking-
something that's reasonable, like for the materials, which makes sense maybe,
Yeah.
so that they don't have to pull it out of their pocket in order to do it, which that I could see. But insurance, some guys can tell you they have insurance, and
Ask for it.
it's not up to date, or maybe they got insurance a long time ago and they're showing you a binder from 5 years ago, you know?
I had a hard
so,
time getting insurance for power washing when he started doing that, because there were not people, like, that's not something that a normal company, a business insurance company, like a BOP, that they provide. They don't allow power washing because there's just too many liabilities with it. And it took me a whole day of searching the internet and making phone calls, and I got turned down repeatedly. So any of these people who are like, I have insurance for power washing, I don't think you do.
well, you have
I
to-
really
you
don't.
have to- You have to check.
Because
do
it
your
took
due diligence.
a lot of
so
work
if you
for
can,
me to do that.
if you can ask if their insurance
We
is
do.
current,
We
that's
found it.
probably best too.
I found it, but
So there's a couple ways. Obviously, you get a good gut feeling for somebody. I would say too is that if you're asking questions to somebody, make sure that they have technical knowledge of what they're doing, not just knowledge that they've done it one time for their dad or something. You know, that,
and that
you know
sometimes
that they.
the price, if it's a really low price, there's a reason. There's going to be a reason why they're not.
Yeah.
If you get 4 quotes and, you know, 3 of them are about the same and one guy is much lower, I would not take that guy. I just wouldn't. Because there's going to be a reason, and we've met those people who can't. Whatever. I'm not going to
Yeah,
go there.
there's a lot of
I won't go there on other contracts.
There's a lot of
in this
stigmas that are
area, but-
attached to painting as far as drugs and alcohol and stuff
Yeah.
like that too. So
And that's a big reason why you stayed alone for so long, is you've tried people, and there's been some. It's been like almost impossible to find a good worker. You know.
it's better to go with people that you know maybe for some time too, if you
Yeah.
can, or know through friends or otherwise. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, 'cause I was going to ask that earlier, but you said you guys, it was just you two. Because I know plenty of contractors who it's like hiring is like miserable.
yeah.
Yes. No, we
Yeah.
have some stories, man.
I know, and I know. I've heard from a lot of older contractors that I know, and general contractors, that they say it's getting worse. That kids are getting worse. It's harder to train them or whatever. But the way I see painting, it was always like this before. That we always had ones when I worked at the first outfit that I worked for that we had to weed through. You know, guys that we would bring on and be like, okay, this was a mistake. We'll have to, part ways with them after this house if we can.
Some people that know what they're doing, they're really good for the first day or 2, and then day 3 and 4 of giving them like give somebody a week, give them a good week and
Yeah.
see, and they don't make it to the
Yeah.
end of the week. You know, their quality is really great in the beginning, like, oh wow, look at how fast I went and I did a good job, and then the quality of it goes down, and you're like, this does not meet my standards. Like, he has super high standards, and you can do things sometimes faster alone than you will if somebody else is helping you. You know.
Something
Somebody
I'll
else
say
getting in
too
your
is
way.
that power washing and exterior painting, that's somewhat of a young man's game in the manner too. So
Yeah.
once you start getting on in years, it does become obviously really taxing on the body. So
Yeah.
I could see how a guy could phase himself out of doing those things and being like, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Every day. So
That's too funny. So let's talk about when people go about painting their homes or something like that. What are some pretty common mistakes you see that you might be called in to correct? Or
If somebody was doing it themselves and then
that's
had a
a pretty good
problem
one.
and called him.
Yeah.
Okay.
sometimes people don't realize the kinds of equipment that it may take in order to get a room done. So they'll start to paint a ceiling and they don't have enough drop cloths, or they don't have, what they needed, from the store. So, and part of it, if they're trying to keep the price down, they may not want to invest in all the proper stuff too. So, then we've seen some horror stories on some rooms, but it was because someone went to attempt to do it and they really just didn't have the proper equipment in order to get it done.
I don't know about having all, invite your friends over, get some 5 guys to come over to your house, give them pizza and beer, and expect them to, paint a few rooms, and by the end of, 30, your friends aren't going to be doing a straight line anymore.
Not straight lines. You've seen those before.
One room looks great. Wow, you did a great job in this room, and then
And I know another one that
another
one that I've heard from people more recently too. They've heard of a lot of these paints that have paint and primer in one, and supposedly in one coat you can cover any color supposedly with this magic paint. And a lot of times that's not quite really gonna how it's gonna be. So if you have a really loud color like a brown or a red underneath, it's more than likely going to need a couple coats in order to hide what you've done for the other
colors. You were
colors.
just saying with the exterior, if you put too much paint, if you're only trying to do a one coat, right? You were saying that lady who was like big sheets of it were falling off, and that was because maybe somebody only tried to do one coat and get away with that, put way too much paint on, and now it's too heavy.
So proper adhesion to the paint is going to have to be a certain mil. If you put too much paint on it once, maybe you've seen where it'll be sagging down the walls or whatnot. So that you can do these kinds of things, but it won't make for a good finish.
That's too funny. Cool. So I can't think of anything else. Is there anything you guys kind of want to touch on before you go in there?
Ceilings are usually not painted yet, right? That's the other thing that's been bothering me.
Oh, yeah.
Because people don't know.
In new construction, I'm coming across a lot of new construction, and some of the newer textures, they actually don't paint the ceilings, and so it's left as an open texture, which it seems like it's okay at the time, but then as time goes on, in 5 years and in 10 years, it starts to degrade. And people that have forced hot air or whatever, they're finding huge amounts of dust in their house, and they're dusting every day, So where is this dust coming from, And it's coming from their ceilings. We're suggesting to people, if we're ever finding that do try to seal them up, because you can develop things like COPD from having just too many particulates in the air and everything. So, we found some where, it's obvious that they're having troubles with their breathings and stuff like that. That's one of the first suggestions I'll make to people. And it's easy to suggest it to them. It's easy to suggest it to them when you go up. If you touch your ceiling and it's completely dry and all that dust is in your hands now, you can really realize the condition of where it stands.
But if then it stains and then you can't patch, somebody just asked you that, can I paint this little area where I had to patch? And you're like, no, because it's never been painted before, so you can't touch it up. You're going to want to get up there, and then you're going to see, oh, that's the only color, that's there. I'm in to do the rest of the ceiling.
So in New England, we come across a lot of small water stains and whatnot that people would like to get rid of, but it needs to be properly painted prior if we're just going to touch it up.
And the water repair needs to be done prior, fixing the root of the reason of why the water keeps coming. Because you've gotten people, they want to go for wholesale and they've had some water damage, and you paint it and then it comes back. Yeah. And they're like, just cover it. And you're like, because he's turned down jobs like that for people who have said, I have this thing, I'm trying to go for home sale, and you think that they're being sneaky. They're trying to sneak it past.
Yeah. Sometimes, obviously, if there's a bad problem.
And that's not a customer you'll take on.
Probably should be discussed at disclosure rather than just covering this problem and saying, well, I left it for the next guy.
But there are jobs that you'll turn down if they're not proper. Yeah. If somebody's trying to do an insurance scam or something, trying to pull one. Yeah. You won't. You're not like that.
Nope. Don't need those jobs.
Our nose clean.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, people that want to reach out and get in touch with you, how do they do this?
Well, like us on Facebook at New View. I love Facebook. New View Painting LLC in Amherst, and then there, you can always Google us and get to our website. It's www.mynewviewpainting.com, and there's a link on that. Daniel at mynewviewpainting.com is the email.
Okay.
Or you can just call me at 689-6496.
Who calls anymore? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you guys so much for being on the show today. I had a lot of fun. And I like learning about all different types of industries, and you're the first painters we've had, so it's quite something. I like it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is fun.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to learn from the best.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please enjoy. I'm going to roll with the last word from our sponsors, and I will see you all in the next interview. If you're using social media for your business, you need funnels to drive traffic into your products. Head over to nhbusinessshow.com/funnels, and we'll get you started.